So I'm here with Chace Wallen today, and we're here to demonstrate a way that a person can preserve a deer hunt without spending a ton of money on a taxidermist.
Yeah, absolutely. The Euro mount's a very cost-effective method.
And this Euro mount is all about removing hair and flesh and getting it down to just literally bone.
Yeah, correct.
Bone and antler, right?
Yeah, you're gonna remove the flesh, you're gonna clean the skull, and essentially there you go.
Well, it just so happened that one of our videographers, Jameson Standard, took a really nice buck, and he is going to allow us to demonstrate this process today. This is a way that we can showcase exactly how to do this for someone who may want to try it.
We're gonna go ahead and get started. So what you're gonna need is a set of sharp knives, some rubber gloves to protect your hands, a couple pairs of needle nose pliers. I like to use a large pair and a small pair. The same with a set of flathead screwdrivers, gun cleaning picks, peroxide developer paste, some small paint brushes, and some cups to hold your peroxide developer, clear dishwashing liquid, super glue, electrical tape, and then of course your pot and your pan and your burner. The first step is we're going to remove all the hide, the ears, the nose, and then some of the meat that we can get off. So biggest thing you want is a deboning knife that's got a little bit of flexibility to it, just so you can get in and around all the intricate parts of the head. So when you're doing this, you really want to be careful with your knife cuts, and you do not want to cut down into the bone. We're just going to keep peeling the hide down away from the mouth. You want to be careful around here so you don't cut or scrape up the teeth, and you're just going to keep continuing to work this hide all the way down. And you do not have to worry about taking this hide off in one piece. If you need to, it's perfectly fine to section it out, peel a piece, and then start on another one, section it out, and keep peeling all the way down to the nose. At this point, we have all the hide removed. So what we're gonna do is go through and remove as much excess meat off the skull as possible. In this point, you don't wanna use a whole lot of downward pressure on the nose because you don't wanna shatter these delicate bones. You wanna go in and remove the tongue and the eyes. They do boil out if you'd rather do that. It just helps to get that hot water down into the cavity quicker. Where you want your water temperature is just a really low simmer. You absolutely do not need a rolling boil for this. Every 30 to 45 minutes, you need to go back and check your water temperature and your water level, as this will evaporate over time. Okay, we're in about hour 3, just about ready to take it out and pressure wash it. Around hour 2, we pulled this out, put it on the table, and pulled the majority of the meat off with the needle nose pliers. It's a really important step. We removed the jawbone and got off as much as we possibly could to allow it to continue cooking in the last hour. We put it back in, and as you can see, whenever we removed all that meat, it drastically reduced the weight on the front end and causes it to tip forward. We rigged up a little apparatus to help hold it up. You may need to do the same. Prior to pressure washing, I like to remove the 2 lower nose bones just because they're so fragile and I don't want to break them. After you get them removed and dried, it's easy to glue them back in later. Before we get started, what I like to do is put down a towel just to kind of protect the skull and to keep anything from blowing up against it. I also like to set it up against a hard surface to prevent it from spinning around while you're pressure washing it. And another thing, I like to wear some knee-high rubber boots. There's going to be a bunch of nasty debris fly off of this and you don't want to get it on you. Now that we've got the front sprayed off, what we're gonna do is flip it over, pat up the bottom really well where these really delicate nose bones are gonna be, stick the end of the pressure washer in the spinal column hole, and flush out the brain matter. Okay, so now we've got all the meat sprayed off, and it's on to the next step. Sometimes the pressure washer can miss small pieces of meat, especially in the nasal cavity. So it's a good idea to go in and remove any from the skull. So now we're going to soak the skull in a pot of water with some clear dishwashing soap. This helps remove any oils or grease from the skull. Absolutely make sure it's clear. You don't have to do this, but it helps speed the process if you have a heat lamp next to the container. The warm water helps to draw the oils out faster. Let this soak for 2 to 3 weeks, changing the water every 3 to 4 days, maybe a week, or if it looks like it gets cloudy. So we've removed the skull from the water and let it completely dry. Prior to this, we went in and we pre-whitened this section of the nose bone and the corresponding section of the skull, just so that it'll make glue up a little bit easier and no color will bleed through. Next step, we're gonna attach the nose bones with the glue, and then we're gonna whiten the entire skull with the cream developer peroxide paste. So with these nose pieces, make sure and dry fit it first prior to putting the glue on it. Just in case a piece of bone has shifted or maybe something's out of line, you can go in with some sandpaper or maybe a fine file it down where it meets up a little bit easier. This one's meeting pretty good, so we're gonna go ahead and glue it. What I like to use is just a normal super glue. You want to use something that's not water soluble and not heat soluble. That way you don't have to have any kind of worries or anything with it coming apart on you. But you'll put just a dab of glue where it's going to meet the skull. And then I like to put a dab of glue on the inside of the nose bone. And it is super glue, so you do have to act pretty quickly. We're just going to hold it till it dries. It's time for the other side. Now that the nose bones are dry, we're gonna go ahead and apply the peroxide cream developer paste. Prior to doing that, a good idea is to take just some simple electrical tape and wrap the base of your antlers. That way, none of the developer paste gets up onto the colored antler and you don't have to worry about it bleaching it out. I like to go 3 to 4 inches up the antler. So now that we got those wrapped, we're gonna go ahead and apply the paste. What we're using here is a peroxide cream developer paste. You can pick this up from any salon or even Amazon. Today we've got 40% by volume, which is about 12% peroxide, which is as strong as you can get over the counter. We're gonna go ahead and just apply a thin coat of the paste over the top of the entire skull. It helps to have a small brush so you can get down into the nooks and crannies in this cartilage and get the developer paste all throughout. So I also like to get this really good up in between each individual tooth. The teeth typically hold a little bit more oil and they'll be a little bit more discolored than the rest of the bones, so they may take 2 or 3 applications. Once you have all this applied, let it dry 6 to 8 hours. Overnight is best. Once it's dried, you need to go in and maybe take a stiff bristle brush and rinse it under hot water and scrub all the remaining peroxide off. Then once it's dried, you can evaluate it. If it's to the point of being as white as you want, good. If not, all you have to do is go back and reapply the paste and continue the process until you get it to where you want it. A European mount takes a little bit of time and it's a few steps, but it's a great, inexpensive, and very memorable way to commemorate your harvest.